7 days until Grampians. Easy 2 hours in the bush today just to make sure the legs still work, and then it's time to get organised. Oh, that was a nice one. 20 Ks, 700 meters, 2 hours. Finally starting to feel like myself again. And I think the success of that training block and pushing through, even though I felt rubbish and fatigued all the time, hinged on being able to rid myself of that fatigue in the taper. And I took a little bit of a longer taper than I normally would. Usually 7 to 10 days is kind of perfect for me. But given that I was not feeling the greatest, tired and sluggish and in a bad mood all the time, it took a bit longer. This will be about a 2.5 week taper. I topped out at about 120 Ks 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then last week was about 80 Ks in 5 days of running. This week will be about 70 Ks in 5 days of running. And then next week, probably just run every second day leading up to a midday Friday start for the Grampians. And that pretty much sums up the taper for Grampians. See how it goes. But apart from that, I got lots of organising to do. Logistics and gear. Better get to it. See, it can be quite daunting running 100 miles in one go. But a race like Grampians, there are 11 checkpoints. And so I like to break my run down into these little bite-sized chunks. When I come into a checkpoint, the one thing I really want to know is how long until the next checkpoint? How long do I have to be self-sufficient for before I can resupply once again? And so I'm going through and figuring out at what point in the race a checkpoint's going to come, and then putting in the information of how long it's going to be until the next one. I find that distance and elevation are the two bits of information that are going to help inform me, depending on how fast I'm running and how good I'm feeling, as to how long it's going to be until I'm at another checkpoint. My nutrition plan is typically to take one 90-gram precision gel every hour and then supplement that with drink mix in my soft flasks, of which I generally consume about one every hour. So if I'm leaving a checkpoint and I predict that there's going to be an hour and 45 minutes of running until I get to another checkpoint, I'm going to take 2 gels and 2 soft flasks. I'm always going to have a little bit of emergency food stashed in my pack somewhere. It's also part of the mandatory gear in most races. But that's my strategy in informing what I'm going to take at a checkpoint so that I can move through those places as efficiently as I possibly can. I gotta be honest, even though my excitement for the Grampians has actually been quite high, up until now I have not yet done my due diligence, figuring out exactly what it is I've got myself into. Lucky for me though, the good people of single track events have put a fair deal of effort into equipping us with information. And I'm just watching like an hour-long video. It's like a deep dive on the course and all its sections. And so simultaneously, I'm creating a spreadsheet with information that I'm going to need to know while I'm out on course. Because, when it comes to checkpoints in big races like this, I've got what I need from a checkpoint pretty dialed, I think. So it's funny, right? Like, in so many aspects of my life, I'm meticulously organized. But when it comes to the storage of my mandatory gear between races, just ends up jammed in a box in the top of my cupboard, which always makes this a little bit more stressful than probably what is necessary. But now I've got all my Mando gear ready to go. I do need to duck next door to pick up one last thing. Should do that now, actually. Telstra SIM cards. Apparently the reception's not the greatest down in the Grampians, and so having Telstra coverage is part of the mandatory gear. I bought one for Sarah too because, I don't want her to be lost. I want her to be at the checkpoints. And that's it. I've got a whole bag packed full of precision gels and drink mix, and if the stomach turns at some point and says no to that plan, then I'm gonna rely on the aid stations. The old weather forecast is shaping up to be a hot one. Apparently the course is pretty exposed, so I think when we get there, I'm gonna try and track down an esky and some ice to try and cool myself down at the aid stations as best as possible. I typically don't operate so well in the heat. I'd much rather be running in the snow, but I don't get to choose the weather, so it is what it is and I'll do my best, but I think I'm organised. I'm actually really looking forward to the race. I have no idea where my form is really at the moment. Training's felt tough. I've definitely freshened up over the past 2 weeks, but I'll start conservatively and hopefully in the back end of the race I can push and see where I end up. But yeah, definitely be taking the cameras along to make a cheeky little vid once this is all over. So stay tuned for that, but until then, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.